Speaker, the true state of the nation or the true state of the Filipino people is far from what the President or President Marcos Jr. painted in his State of the Nation address. Economic crisis, poverty, lack of jobs, meager wages, demolition, importation, landlessness, militarization, and vulnerability of natural disasters. These are the issues and problems the Filipinos are experiencing. Sa bagong Pilipinas, lalong nagdurusa ang mamamayang Pilipino.
Ito na nga, Arlene Brosas, binulabog ang pagiging irresponsable ni FPRRD pagdating sa bansa. Brosas, kumalas na? Pero bago ang lahat, maaari kayong mag-subscribe para maging updated sa mga issue at bagong mga balita. Tila ba nagiba ang ihip ng hangin at biglang binulabog at inamin ni Brosas ang pagiging irresponsable ng Pangulo pagdating sa mga kalamidad ng bansa. Saad pa ni Brosas ay puro lamang umano salita ang Pangulo at walang nagawa. Brosas, bumaliktad na. Narito ang buong detalye.
Move that we recognize the Honorable Arlene Brosas of the Gabriela Party List to avail of the privilege hour.
Honorable Arlene Brosas of the Party List Gabriela is recognized to...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat po. To fellow members of the House of Representatives, guests, and Filipinos viewing today's session via online platforms, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Lubog sa baha, puno ng makapal na putik, inanod na mga kagamitan, tambak na basura, siksikang evacuation centers, kumakalam na sikmura, ito ang bumungad sa mamamayang Pilipino 2 araw matapos ipagmalaki ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. ang kanyang mga itinuturing na achievements sa kanyang ikatlong State of the Nation address. Ayon kay Pangulong Marcos Jr., bumaba umano ang poverty rate sa bansa mula 18% noong 2021 tungong 15.5% noong 2023. Mas mababa raw ito kumpara sa poverty rate na 16.7% noong 2018. Ayon pa sa kanya, 2.5 milyong Pilipino ang naiangat mula sa kahirapan at nabawasan ng lampas 1 milyon at 700,000 ang Pilipinong walang sapat na pambili ng pagkain. Ngayon, ang tanong, Mr. Speaker, ramdam ba ito ng mamamayang Pilipino? Ayon sa Social Weather Stations, SWS, tumaas ng 3.4 milyon ang bilang ng Pilipino na itinuturing ang kanilang sarili na mahirap mula noong maupo si Pangulong Marcos Jr. sa pwesto. Mula 12.6 million noong June 2022, naging 16 million ito ngayong June 2024. Ibig sabihin, napakaraming bilang ng mamamayang Pilipino ang hindi nakakakain ng sapat at hindi matugunan ang kanilang pangunahing mga pangangailangan sa araw-araw. Kasabay nito, nagtataasan ang presyo ng mga bilihin, pagkain at pangunahing serbisyo. Naglalaro ngayon ng 48 pesos hanggang 55 pesos kada kilo ang presyo ng bigas. Wala pa rin ang 20 pesos kada kilo ng bigas na pinangako ng Pangulo. Patuloy rin ang pagtaas ng singil sa kuryente at tubig. Sa kabila ng kahirapang nararanasan, nagpatupad lamang ng barya-baryang aumento sa sahod ang gobyerno. 35 peso wage increase sa National Capital Region lamang. Hindi ito kayang makabili ng 1 kilong bigas. Pananatilihin pa rin ng Administrasyong Marcos Jr. ang regional wage boards, kahit napatunayan ang ginagamit lamang ito ng mga kapitalista upang baratin ang sahod ng mga manggagawa. Ibinida ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. na tumaas daw ang employment rate at may signifikanteng pagtaas din sa pagkakaroon ng high-quality jobs. Bumaba rin umano ang underemployment sa bansa. Ayon sa Ibon Foundation, 32.1 million o 74% ng sinasabi ng gobyerno na employed ay nakararanas ng mababang sahod, walang benepisyo o nasa informal na sektor ng paggawa. Hindi rin sinasama ng gobyerno sa bilang ng unemployment rate ang mga manggagawang tumigil sa paghahanap ng trabaho. Mr. Speaker, isa sa mga sagot ng gobyerno sa pagkakaroon ng trabaho sa bansa ay ang pagpapapasok ng mga dayuhang negosyo. Sa pamamagitan ng Create More Act, binigyang luwag at dagdag incentives ang mga dayuhang kumpanya. Ang daming kaltas sa napakaliit na sweldo ng mga manggagawa, habang ang gobyerno ay labis-labis ang nilalaan na proteksyon sa mga dayuhang negosyo. Sadlak din ang kalagayan ng ating mga magsasaka at mangingisda dahil sa patuloy na liberalisasyon sa agrikultura, lalo na ang patuloy na importasyon. Hindi binibigyang halaga ng gobyerno ang lokal na produksyon sa Pilipinas. Noong Hunyo lamang, naglabas ng executive order ang Pangulo na nagbababa sa taripa ng mga imported na produktong agrikultural tulad ng bigas, mais at baboy. Nandyan pa rin ang Rice Liberalization Law na patuloy na magpapapasok ng imported na bigas sa bansa. Nakasandig pa rin ang gobyerno sa importasyon. Sa ganitong kalagayan, lalong lalala ang kalagayan ng ating mga magsasaka at mangingisda. Kasabay nito, nagaganap ang militarisasyon at aerial bombing sa kanayunan upang bigyang daan ang pagtatayo ng matatayog na infrastruktura, pagmimina at land use conversion. Nitong taon lamang, binomba ng Philippine Air Force ang maraming lugar sa Abra. Gayon din nagpaulan ng bala at nag-aerial bombing ang Armed Forces of the Philippines sa Aurora. Nagdulot ito ng pagsasara ng mga eskwelahan at paglikas ng daan-daang individual sa kanilang tahanan. Ang sabi ng presidente sa kanyang talumpati, atin daw ang West Philippine Sea. Pero bakit labas-masok ang mga sundalong Amerikano sa ating mga teritoryo? Tingnan natin ang napakalaking budget na 2 trillion para sa modernisasyon ng AFP. Ito ba ay talagang para sa ating pambansang seguridad? Dahil sa matagal na panahon, isa lamang itong pamamaraan upang magkalap ng kita para sa mga dayuhang kumpanya ng armas. Maski ang iligal na pagpasok ng US Typhoon missile system sa Ilocos Norte ay malinaw na paglabag sa ating mga batas at soberanya. Ito ay nagdudulot ng mas matinding tensyon sa West Philippine Sea at naglalagay sa ating bansa sa panganib ng gyera. Mr. Speaker, ang pagpapaunlad at pagpapalawak ng infrastruktura tulad ng mga railway, expressway, seaports at airports ang isa rin sa mga ipinagmalaki sa SONA. Kaliwat kanan din ang reclamation projects, mapanirang pagmimina at quarrying dito sa bansa. Tuloy-tuloy ang Build Better More at Development Aggression sa pamamagitan ng public-private partnership na nagdudulot ng korupsyon, magreresulta sa malawakang demolisyon at matinding pagbaha. Nakita natin nito lamang ang matinding epekto nito. Sinalanta ng Bagyong Karina ang maraming parte ng Luzon. Umabot ng lampas tao ang baha at hanggang ngayon ay marami pa rin ang nasa evacuation centers at hindi makabalik sa kanilang mga tirahan dahil walang kuryente at tubig. Sabi ni Pangulong Marcos Jr. sa kanyang SONA, mahigit 5,500 flood control projects ang natapos na at marami pa ang ginagawa ngayon. May nilaang 351.4 billion pesos sa 2024 budget para sa flood control. Mas malaki pa ito kumpara sa 2024 budget ng Department of Social Welfare and Development. Daan-daang bilyon ang nilaang pondo ng gobyerno para rito, ngunit nagdusa pa rin ang mamamayang Pilipino sa matinding baha. Mr. Speaker, the true state of the nation or the true state of the Filipino people is far from what the President Marcos Jr. painted in his State of the Nation address. economic crisis, poverty, lack of jobs, meager wages, demolition, importation, landlessness, militarization, and vulnerability of natural disasters. These are the issues and problems the Filipinos are experiencing. Sa bagong Pilipinas, lalong nagdurusa ang mamamayang Pilipino. Kung may pagbabago man, yun ay lalong lumala ang kahirapan. Mr. Speaker, tunay na reforma sa lupa, pambansang industrialisasyon, pagkakaroon ng regular na trabaho at mataas na sahod, direktang pagpupondo sa pampublikong pangkalusugan, desente at abot-kayang pabahay, libreng edukasyon at aksesibleng pampublikong serbisyo ang tunay na kailangan ng sambayanang Pilipino. At kaisa, ang malawak na hanay ng mamamayan, ang Gabriela Women's Party para ipaglaban ito. Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Brosas. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Brosas to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate action.
Is there an objection? Here is none. Privilege speech of Honorable Brosas referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Loreto P. Acharon of the Lone District of General Santos City to avail of the privilege hour.
The Honorable Loreto Ton Acharon of the Lone District of General Santos City is recognized to avail of the privilege hour.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good afternoon to everyone. Our country is undergoing a state of heightened urbanization, the likes of which we have not seen before. In the midst of all this, we have learned to accept the effects of such urbanization as we continue to pursue our prosperity in a global economy. The most immediate concern that comes to mind is the overwhelming vehicular traffic jams we experience and encounter every day. Thus, the need to be creative in our whole-of-nation approach to solve, prevent, reduce, or lessen the so-called Carmageddons. Our approach to this concern should be holistic, and the current efforts of the agencies tasked to institute innovations in the operations of river ferries, elevated skyways, elevated train systems, and point-to-point buses should be supported and commended. We also have dedicated bus, motorcycle, and bicycle lanes in Metro Manila. However, the concept, application, and implementation of the broad, real, genuine, and acceptable walkability in many major urban centers leave much to be desired. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, walkability is a relatively new term to describe how a city or a neighborhood is pedestrian-friendly, and to embrace walkability requires a change of perspective in the existing design of cities and municipalities, a change in the mindset of our local chief executives, and most important of all, a change in the way we value and prioritize pedestrian traffic over vehicular volume. A walkable and pedestrian-friendly environment in urban centers promotes the general welfare, protects and improves the quality of life, protects and promotes the right to health of the people while instilling health consciousness among all citizens, conditions that are essential for the enjoyment by all the people of the blessings of our democracy. The overall design of walkable communities is to prioritize pedestrians amidst a human-centered environment, a neighborhood or urban area that can be easily navigated by the general public on foot, characterized by a mix of residential, commercial, and recreational areas located within close proximity to each other. So how do we make communities walkable? Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, the strategies are as many as they are varied. So please allow me to mention some of this. Number one, let us design pedestrian-friendly infrastructure, which means urban planners should prioritize the needs of pedestrians when designing streets in public spaces incorporated within green spaces, widening sidewalks, installation of adequate lighting, creating safe and accessible crosswalks. Number 2, let us establish and enforce pedestrian-first policies. Policies, laws, and ordinances that prioritize pedestrians over vehicles should be established and implemented to assure the general public of their safety and comfort while walking, a situation that will encourage and effectively promote walking as a healthy physical activity. Number 3, let us encourage and promote mixed-use developments. Walkable communities reduce the need for long commutes between zonal areas by integrating residential, recreational, and commercial areas. Zoning laws should be crafted in a manner that encourages mixed-use developments and provide incentives to real estate developers to incorporate amenities within walking distance. Last, or number 4, let us improve public transportation. Walkable communities should be well connected to efficient public transportation, such as elevated trains and bus rapid transit systems. Reliable and accessible public transit options, such as buses, trains, or even bike-sharing programs, can greatly reduce reliance of Filipinos on private vehicles. We should take note that improving pedestrian accessibility and availability of public transport are two of the sub-goals of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations and one of the objectives of the World Economic Forum. Making our cities great places to live and work is our legacy to future generations, anchored on a firm and resolute resolve to immediately begin working towards this goal because walkable cities do not happen overnight. It is in this spirit that I commend the Department of Transportation for pushing forward the EDSA Greenways project, which aims to improve the pedestrian environment in 4 areas, namely Balintawak, Cubao, Guadalupe, and Taft. These 5-kilometer elevated walkways will be connected to mass transit stations to promote the use of public transport by providing seamless accessibility between public transportation hubs. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, as we pursue our goals of decongesting Metro Manila traffic and honor our international commitments to lower carbon dioxide emissions, the EDSA Greenways project is a first among many undertakings that we hope to see and support in the 19th Congress and beyond, knowing fully well that these initiatives complements the ongoing improvements on metro rail transit and light rail transit systems, the ongoing Metro Manila subway, and the north-south commuter railway projects. We have to understand that the problems that car-oriented planning cause, and from there, we can look at designing infrastructure projects to be more people-centric and transit-oriented instead of car-centric, so that as we integrate more vibrant, walkable, and bikeable urban environments, we can look forward and be assured of safer, more inclusive, dynamic, and environment-friendly public spaces and communities. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, it is by willingly giving our people the spaces they need that we can create a truly livable and healthy urban community centers. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, for your kind attention, and good evening to everyone.
Thank you, Honorable Charon. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Charon to the Committee on Rules for its appropriate actions.
There an objection? The Chair hears none. The privileged speech of Honorable Charon is referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I